on, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about 7 free agents that the New York Jets need to be targeting this upcoming March, okay? Let's not waste any time. Let's hop right in. The first free agent that the Jets should be looking at, okay, taking a hard look at, is tackle from the Tennessee Titans, Jack Conklin, okay? Every Jet fan out there knows that the Jets struggle big time on the offensive line. Whether you want to talk about tackle, whether you want to talk about guard, or even center, we are not good. We are not good in the trenches on the offensive side of the football. Okay, and another thing too, we can't run the football. Okay, we cannot run the football. And I feel like, is that Le'Veon Bell? Is that Ty Montgomery? Is that Bilal Powell? Or is it more so scheme? Is it more so play calling? I think it's a combination of all three. I felt like many times last season, once the second half rolled around, Gase would just bail on the run game and just say, this isn't working, we're not doing it. We're just going to revert back to throwing screen passes and short little passes and whatnot. So we got to be able to run the football. I'm not saying let's turn into the Baltimore Ravens, the Seattle Seahawks, the Buffalo Bills. All I'm saying is, hey, we're not the Chiefs. Let's get more of a balanced attack here. I think Jack Conklin comes in and pretty much checks so many boxes, right? He comes in and he'd be an upgrade at tackle, okay? Right off the bat, he'd be our best offensive lineman, right? Better than our center, better than our guards, better than our current tackles, right? Beachum, all these guys. He comes in as our number one, our best offensive lineman. That's huge, right? Whenever you can enter a free agency period or even a draft period and target somebody and sign somebody, and the moment you sign him, he instantly becomes the best player at that specific unit. That's huge, okay? Not to mention he's 26. Not to mention he's a former first-round pick out of Michigan State, okay? I loved Conklin coming out of college. Not only his physical abilities, but just his overall run-blocking abilities. I'm not saying we should go out and give this guy $15 million a season, $16 million a season, anything crazy. But I think Jack Conklin needs to be the number one focus of the New York Jets this offseason. I think it would be a huge get for the Jets. And like I said before, he's 26 years old. He's still really, really young. It's not like getting a guy in the building who's 33, 34, who or even like an Andrew Whitworth, right, who's an upcoming free agent as well, who's just going to be retiring within the next year or two. We got to get a franchise tackle in the building, whether it's through free agency of the draft, to allow Sam Darnold to grow as a quarterback, okay? Because, like I said, he's going to be an upgrade in pass pro and run pro. So, Conklin, number one option. Next up, Logan Ryan, cornerback from the Tennessee Titans. As you guys can tell, I kind of like Tennessee's culture. I like the way they build their teams. But that aside, I've always liked Logan Ryan as a player. I've always respected his skill set as a player as well. I look at the Jets defense, and they did an admirable job, right, performing for Greg Williams. But I look at some of the weak spots of the defense: edge rusher, cornerback. I feel like Brian Poole, underrated season out of the slot in the nickel, but we need some guys on the outside. Logan Ryan has played in multiple systems, New England, Tennessee, multiple coaching staffs. He's been around the league for a little bit, but yet he's still young. I think Logan Ryan would come in kind of as a veteran presence, but not old as hell, kind of, like, if that makes sense. He's not going to be coming in like I'm trying to think of a cornerback on the market who's like up there in age, like 33. Anyway, Logan Ryan would come in, and he's still young enough and athletic enough and versatile enough to be a solid piece on the defense side of football where you can kind of play him on the outside. Not necessarily saying he has to follow the number one wide receiver or anything like that. But what he can do is just provide depth, stability, and versatility at the cornerback position. I definitely think we need to re-sign Brian Poole, but that's another video. I'm talking more so about that's assuming we re-sign Poole. So I'm talking about more so the left and the right side, the outside guys. Next up, Dante Fowler, right? Dante Fowler's an interesting case study. Former 3rd overall pick out of UF to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Didn't really do too much with Jacksonville. I know he had a couple fantastic games. He had, I think, one really solid season. But he goes to the Rams, and I've always been a fan of Fowler, okay, and I might be on an island with what I'm about to say. I would rather pay Dante Fowler than Jadeveon Clowney. I am not sold on Clowney. I know there's been a lot of talk about Jets fans falling in love with Jadeveon and this and that. Played on 2 different teams, former number 1 overall pick, tons of potential, wrecks the run game, gets better seemingly with rushing the passer and stuff like that. Even though he's had a numbers wise a down season with Seattle rushing the passer compared to that one ball where he just completely dominated with Houston. But I really like Dante Fowler. I don't know what I can't really put my finger on it, and yes, I could talk about his speed, his burst off the line, his ability to play in a 3-4 and a 4-3, giving Greg Williams kind of a little bit of leash to, because one of the things, Greg Williams has been linked to the 4-3 defense, with the Rams and the Cleveland Browns and whatnot, but I feel, and then of course everybody knows he ran out the 3-4 system this year with the Jets. It's because the personnel is not fit for the 4-3. If we slowly but surely start getting guys who are versatile, who can play in a 4-3, maybe we start to see that switch over to a base defense. But it doesn't really matter with Dante Fowler. That's the cool thing. He could come in and play really, really well as that edge outside linebacker in a 3-4, or the defensive end kind of hand in the dirt edge rusher that you'd see in a 4-3. So Fowler, versatile, can play on both sides of the defense. He doesn't need to be locked into one side. He could play 4-3. He could play 3-4. He showed last season he could rush the passer, and obviously he has the physical traits to be a dominant edge rusher. Also, look at the Jets. Sack leaders, it's pretty much an embarrassment. It's been an embarrassment for years. Dante Fowler. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Get Fowler in the building. I'm not saying let's overpay for him, but if he's going to be coming in at a cheaper price than a Jadeveon Clowney, I say, hey, we have the cap room. That's what the money's there for. It's there to be spent, right? Let's get Fowler in the building. Next up, Leonard Williams. No, I'm just kidding. Not Leonard Williams. Bud Dupree, right? Bud Dupree from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Underrated season. Nobody is talking about this guy in free agency. And I'm surprised. I mean, I think he recorded over 11 sacks last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, former first-round pick. You can kind of tell there's a little bit of a trend here. I really like getting guys with high physical traits, high competitors, and former highly thought of guys in college, right? Big-time college performers. Bud Dupree really came onto the scene his last season, or his last 2 seasons at Kentucky. Never really panned out that much for Pittsburgh, but I really, really feel like he kind of came into his own this season, and the stats back it up. This is a guy that you can plug into this defense, and you can let him grow with the young core of the defense, right? Quinnen Williams, Jamal Adams. I really feel as though getting a guy like Bud Dupree might not have to pay a lot for him, but hey, you never really know. This guy could come in and get 9 sacks, and you're thinking 9 sacks, that's barely anything. Well, it's still pretty much more than anybody on the Jets have had in years. Since the last dominant pass rusher, and not even dominant, the last decently good pass rusher that we've had that comes to memory is Muhammad Wilkerson. That was back in 2015. Okay, so we got to get help on the edge. We got to get after the passer. How can we contend with the Chiefs and the Texans, the Bills and the Patriots, and even the Baltimore Ravens when there's just no push on the defensive line to get pressure? It's virtually impossible. Next up, this is kind of a sketchy one. This is a little one that I was kind of back and forth on. But I said, you know what? I just pictured myself on the first day of free agency, and I'm imagining the Jets signing this guy, what my initial reaction would be. It's Yannick Ngakoue. This is a dude who's going to demand a ton of cash. So we've got to be sure. We've got to be sure about Yannick. And by the way, I know we're 5 players in here. I'm not saying that the Jets need to be signing all these guys. I'm just saying that these are the guys that the Jets should be having conversations with, because you never know if we can't get a guy like Dante Fowler, maybe a fallback plan would be Bud Dupree. I'm not saying let's sign Bud Dupree, Dante Fowler, Yannick Ngakoue. Let's just bring them all onto the train. I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying that these are the guys that the Jets should be focused on heading into early March. That said, Ngakoue has been a dominant pass rusher, right? Former Pro Bowler. You could go hit up UCF Jaguar, my good buddy Dalton. He's going to tell you a lot about Yannick. I think he actually has a Yannick Ngakoue jersey. Not too sure. But anyway, this guy's been a beast for Jacksonville, right? I think he was a 3rd or 4th round pick coming out of Maryland. Absolute stud, right? He flies off the edge, and he has just wrecked games in the past. He's, I don't want to say an anchor for the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, because people don't really kind of hold him in that light of a Khalil Mack Von Miller. But honestly, the numbers, man, when you look at the numbers, Yannick Ngakoue is a baller. And if he comes to the Jets and he puts up the same numbers, you're going to see a pretty solid defense getting Avery Williamson back, getting CJ Mosley back, assuming we upgrade at corner, and now we get a star edge rusher in Ngakoue. I'm looking at this defense like it could be a top 5, top 10 defense. With Jamal Adams, considering we keep Adams. But Ngakoue, that's a guy who, yes, you're going to have to shell out a ton of guap, but you have to look at it from, the other side of the coin. This guy can be a dominant, game-changing player. Because all of a sudden, if you get a star pass rusher in the building, makes the corners better, makes the safeties better, makes everything a little bit more smoother. Next up, one of my favorites, if not my favorite free agent in this upcoming class, Daryl Worley, cornerback, Raiders, Panthers. I love what Worley has done throughout his young career. 25 years old, but I feel like he's been around for years. He's asked to do a ton. He's played in zone. He's played in man. Really, he's followed the best receiver. I think he was undrafted too, believe it or not. I really like Daryl Worley. I have a ton of respect for his game, and throughout his short career, I've always tipped my cap to him. One of my favorite players, just is not afraid to do the dirty work, to get better, to go out and guard Michael Thomas. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll go follow Michael Thomas. He plays with a lot of confidence. Really instinctual, long, so he can reach around wide receivers to swat the ball down. He's done a decently well job covering tight ends as well. So Daryl Worley, I think, is going to be a guy who he might not be asking for a ton of money like a Logan Ryan or like a Trumaine Johnson or even a Darius Slay, who's kind of muddling in the waters of being traded. But Worley's a guy who, if the Jets were to go out and offer him like a 3 to 4 year contract and we sign him, that move could go underrated by like a lot of people, not the Jets fans. So as soon as that deal would get done, I would be ecstatic. I would be so amped up. Worley's a guy who can do anything. He's not going to throw a fit. He's not going to be throwing tantrums like Odell Beckham or anything crazy like that. He could play, he could follow the best receiver. He could play on the right side, left side. He'll do anything that you want him to do. And the way I'm making him sound is like he's the next whatever, Jalen Ramsey or whoever we want to say, Marcus Peters, Gilmore. He's not one of those guys, but he's a guy who's versatile. He's a guy who defensive coordinators love. There's a reason why he was late round or undrafted, and he keeps on getting shots and he keeps on getting playing time because coaches love him. Worley to the Jets. Let's make it happen. And the 7th free agent is Brandon Scherff, right? Brandon Scherff, again, former first-round pick out of Iowa, selected a spot ahead of Leonard Williams back in 2015. A guy who I really like. A guy who I think can maul in the run game. Guard, obviously, from Washington, has battled some injuries, but overall, I think Scherff, still young in his career, I think he has a lot of room to get better. I really have loved... Brandon Scherff, back in 2015, this is before I started the YouTube channel, he was the number one guy that I wanted the Jets to get. Back like in the mock drafts and all that stuff, I really thought that Brandon Scherff was going to be the pick for the Jets because I thought Leonard Williams was going to the Jags at 3, and I thought it was going to be either Fowler or Scherff for the Jets at spot number 6. I was really on the Scherff bandwagon. It's not really panned out. He's, when he was coming out, people were saying that this guy is going to be your franchise guard for the next 10 to 15 seasons. He hasn't really performed like that. Okay, he hasn't, let's be honest, but he's still a major upgrade. If you get Scherff in the building, immediately, day one, best guard on the team. Best guard on the team, all right? So I really think that Scherff could be a solid fit. And by the way, I know I said there's 7, but I haven't uploaded in a long time, so here's 3 bonus ones. 8, James Bradbury, cornerback from Carolina. A guy who specifically has played a lot of zone coverage, but again, a later round pick. A guy who, a lot like Worley, is not afraid to get dirty, not afraid to come up and make a hit, not afraid to bail on whatever he's doing to come up and try to intercept the football. I think we need more risk takers like that on the defensive side, kind of like a Cromartie. But James Bradbury, again, provides depth, provides explosiveness, provides a lot of instincts on the at the outside cornerback position. Next, Andres Pete, guard from the Saints. former first-round pick out of Stanford, drafted to be a tackle, comes in and plays guard. A solid player. Not an amazing player, not a great player, but I think a solid player. Again, if we do miss out on Brandon Scherf, I think Andres Pete could be a nice fallback plan. And then last but not least, player number 10. You guys might roll your eyes, but I don't think so. Blake Bortles. Blakeland Bortles, former Jacksonville Jaguar quarterback, most recently with the LA Rams. What was one thing of this season that made a lot of Jets fans hop off or gave a lot of Jets fans skepticism going forward? Early in the season when Sam Darnold got mono, and we saw how bad Simeon looked. We saw how bad Luke Falk looked. Against the Browns, against the Eagles, Patriots, whatever. They looked horrendous. Now, part of that is Adam Gase. I think the majority of it is actually Adam Gase. I can't get into Gase. Just gonna Seinfeld Serenity now. No, I can't do that. Blake Bortles, though, he's a guy who started a lot of games. He's mobile. He's big. He's not going to get hurt, okay? That was one thing I always respected about Bortles. He never was, like, dealing with injuries, like, oh, I'm hurt, missing 5 games, missing 4 games, missing 5 games, like, every year. This guy just played. He played. And he was mobile, and he took hits. He got sacked a lot. Yes, he has the loopy release. Yes, he's not really an effective downfield thrower, but we need a guy who's going to be durable at the backup position. We need a guy who started games at the backup position because, look, if Sam Darnold, because Darnold got hurt his rookie year, then he gets the mono year 2. If Darnold goes out with an injury, if Darnold gets sick, whatever, again, I know that's like 1 in a million chance, but who would have thought their quarterback would have get mono? Nobody. That's probably 1 in a million chance as it is. So we have to be prepared. We can't just overlook the backup position. We got to get a guy in the building who started. I don't want to say a veteran, but a guy who can win games, right? A guy who can win games. Because if Darnold goes out and we just go 0-5, the season's over. I don't see it bouncing back. Or I don't see us bouncing back. So Blake Bortles, we could sign him on a cheap 1 to 2 year deal. Let's get it done. And thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who are some of your free agent targets that you want the Jets to target? Or free agent guys that you want the Jets to target? And of course there are more. There's more guys that I would like the Jets to get. Like a Bradley Roby, even though I feel like he's more nickel. Thuney from the Patriots, but I'm kind of skeptical about taking Patriots offensive linemen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.